Chris, thanks for the leadership that you provide our party, and thanks to Deborah and to Jim Country, and these things just don't happen, folks. And because of the work on the ground in Western North Carolina and throughout North Carolina, that's why we have for the first time since 1869, a Republican House and a Republican Senate in North Carolina. So we really appreciate that. It's been fun to be part of the majority down there. I don't know what it's like to be in the minority, but Roger West can tell you. And I think he likes it because he's filed for re-election. And he has a primary opponent but no general election opponent. So I guess I'll just have to try to be a filler for Dale Falwell. Dale Falwell, for those of you who don't know, is the Speaker Pro Tem in the House. And he is one of several candidates that are running on the Republican ticket for Lieutenant Governor. Dale is a real policy wonk. He was the driving force behind the reforming workmen's compensation laws in North Carolina this year. And he would make a great Republican lieutenant governor, as would some of the other ones. I got a call from Tony Gurley the other day asking for my support. We've had the opportunity to hear Dan Forrest from Raleigh, the architect, and he too would be a great one. But I'd like to share with you just some of the things that we have to deal with in Raleigh, some of the obstacles that we have to restoring physical sanity in North Carolina. And believe you me, we do have some tough times ahead. But we have gone a long ways towards resolving our physical problems in the state, in addition to cutting taxes of $1.3 billion by allowing the temporary taxes to expire. We are getting a lot of heat obviously from the Republican Party. Anybody that reads the paper know that my name appears regularly there, and that means we must be doing something right. And we must be a threat to those people, or else they wouldn't be, release their minions onto us. But it reminds me of a quote that my 5th grade teacher, it's been a while, but I remember this quote: "There's no greater tragedy than ignorance in action." And that, for me, that really typifies what these people are doing. They're blaming us for the reduced funding in K-12 education, for example, when in fact, state funding for teachers went down the 2 previous budgetary years before the Republicans even got there. Did you realize that the Democrats cut K-12 education by about 4,700 teachers one year, 2,700 teachers the next, and then when the Republicans came in, they restored funding for 2,000, or about 2,100 of those teachers. You don't read that in the paper. All you read is the terrible things that we're doing to education. The reality is, what the Democrats did is they replaced state-funded teachers with EduJobs money, with the money that was sent down as part of the stimulus money from Obama. And so they postponed, or they delayed the having to deal with our budgetary problems. In addition to those, we have about $500 million that we owe the federal government through Health and Human Services. And we're paying that quarterly. We're having to make quarterly payments to the federal government because of mismanagement in Health and Human Services in past years. They overcharged them on services, overcharged them on drugs, and those are things that we're having to pay for now. And so it's no wonder that a lot of the programs are struggling to meet their budgets, because we're having to pay all these past bills. You hear that all would be well in the universe if the Republicans had only allowed those temporary taxes to stay in place. Well, there's a reason why they were temporary taxes, and that's because the Democrats put a bill forth to say that it was only going to last 2 years. We not only fulfilled our promise in saying that we were not going to allow those temporary taxes to go on. To do that, we would have to pass a bill saying that we would do so. We kept the Democrats' promise. They said it was just a 2-year, temporary tax, and that amounted to a little over $1 billion. But if you were to take that $1 billion, that temporary tax, let's presume that that was the smart thing to do, to keep taking 1.3 or $1.2 billion out of the private economy and give it to Raleigh to take care of business. That 1.2 or 1.3 $1.3 billion would have paid our debt that we have for retiree health care. We have an unfunded liability in North Carolina for retiree health care of $32.8 billion. The good news is that's over 30 years, but it's still over $1 billion a year. So if we did nothing but that with that $1.3 billion, again, assuming that it would not do any harm to our economy by pulling it out of the private sector and giving it to government, we wouldn't even have enough money to pay that bill. But in addition to that bill, we have $2.8 billion underfunded retirement system. We have a $40 million unfunded retirement or underfunded retirement system for consolidated judicial retirement system. $40 million for North Carolina National Guard. We owe $2.8 billion in underfunded retirement plan for state employees. We owe the government, the federal government, $2.6 billion for unemployment compensation. The interest on that is $100 million a year. Just the interest is $100 million a year. So we have a lot of obligations. In addition to that, if we had teachers, you hear a lot of complaints from K through 12 teachers. The Republican legislature this year fixed the present, for the health care system, the health insurance system for our teachers and other state employees. It was grossly underfunded. This year we put $7.1 billion into that system, in addition to charging those people that are on the system an additional $22 per month for their health insurance. We didn't change the coverage. They still have some options of the coverage, but they were charged $22 more a month. In addition to that, the legislature put in $7.1 million this year. This next year it'll be about $102 million. And so we fixed that system. It was going broke. It was broke. And it was destined to implode. And we fixed that. And so you don't read about that in the paper. The teachers don't complain about that. I'll tell you one more thing too. I have yet to receive one email from any state government employee, not one, other than K through 12 teachers. Those are the only complaints that I get. The only ones. Nobody that works for any other state department has complained to me about they haven't had a raise in 4 years, not one. But we get a barrage of emails from K through 12 teachers complaining about the fact that they haven't had a raise in 4 years. And my response to them is, I know people haven't had a job in 4 years, and so be thankful for them. And I know a lot of other people that do have jobs that would love to be making what they made 4 years ago. But the K through 12 teachers seem to be, they're making the most noise. And of course, most of those are NCAE members. And that's where they make the most noise. I have teachers as patients, teachers that bring their kids to me. And when they come in, they tell me, that this NCAE doesn't speak for them. We have some wonderful teachers here in Macon County that are really dedicated and want to do what's best. But they don't share what the NCAE does. One thing that we did was we disallowed the deduction, the automatic deduction of dues for NCAE members. And it's my opinion, my belief that the state shouldn't be the bills collector for the NCAE dues. About a fourth of the teachers in North Carolina belong to the NCAE. And if the teachers are unaware of any other way to pay their dues other than having them automatically deducted from their paycheck, then they shouldn't be teaching. They can have it automatically deducted from their paycheck. There's a lot of other ways. And so that was not, in spite of what you read, that was not an attack on teachers. That was simply saying to them that the state shouldn't be burdened with collecting their dues. And sometimes you hear them say, well, we're collecting dues for other people too, and that's correct, and we're going to rectify that as well. But right now, they're still having their dues collected because some judge decided that it was unconstitutional what we did. Well, that's going to be curious, but a lot of these things are just full employment acts for some of these attorneys that sue the government over all kinds of things. But I want to tell you that it's been a thrill to be your senator, to follow in the footsteps of Bob Carpenter and the service that he gave this district. And his name is still close to holy in the 50th district. I'm telling you, when I go out and meet people, and I tell them, well, how's Helen doing? And then everybody asks me about that Helen, and I'm able to tell them that they've been friends of mine for a lot of years. But it's really an honor to serve, and I can tell you that I serve with a lot of other fine people down there that are really willing to make a difference. And I beg you, I implore you to stay active, to stay energized, and to stay determined at this time. This is, if any election in my lifetime, and probably in your lifetime as well, is going to mean a difference for the direction that our country is going to go, this is the one. And it goes from the top. It goes from the top to the bottom. We have, well, redistricting, even though redistricting really hurt me. When they gave me the news about that, I just said, well, you've given me another 5,000 Democrats. There were 62,000 votes cast for state senator in the last election, and I won by 161. And so they gave me another 5,000. I no longer have Transylvania County. I now have all of Haywood County. But the encouraging thing is that people are becoming active in the grassroots in every county that I serve. And I just told Senator Bob Rucho, I said, well, if that is what it is, and I'm going to win anyway. And I'm determined to do so. But this is going to be such a difference. We've got to get rid of Obama because of redistricting, in spite of what it did to my district and one other incumbent Republican. It's virtually assured, again, because of the work that you did in 2010, it's virtually assured that we're going to stay in control in the House and the Senate probably for the next 10 years. As a matter of fact, the sentiment is that we could even pick up seats this time, and certainly in the House. And regardless of who our governor is, they anticipate having a veto-proof majority in the House and the Senate this next year. Another great thing is that the money is drying up for the Democrats this time. I don't know where they're spending it, because they haven't been spending it on my campaign yet. But I've been assured by the leadership that they're going to devote a lot of money to this campaign. And I will tell you that the things have changed in Raleigh. We're going to make a difference. You give us a Republican governor, and we have a Republican House and Senate. We can virtually, in 4 years' time, I would love to be there for the next 4 years. I don't plan to be there for a career. And I doubt that I'm going to be willing to serve as long as a devoted public servant like Bob Carpenter did. But I tell you, I would love to be there during the time when we have a Republican governor and we don't have to worry about all these vetoes. And we can get voter ID through, and we can get, repealing Obamacare if the Supreme Court doesn't do it. And we can make so much difference. We can transform how North Carolina works. I believe that this next election will allow North Carolina to begin the process of fixing. I believe North Carolina, I believe the states are going to lead the national, our federal government out of this morass in which we find ourselves. We have to do it. We cannot continue doing what we're doing and spending our kids, inheritance. We're spending their future as well. I've seen bumper stickers around these RVs. You see them a lot. I'm spending my kids' inheritance. Well, our government's not only spending their inheritance, our government is giving them a debt that they will not live long enough to repay. And that is applicable to our state as well. They've made a lot of promises that they can't keep. And we, because we have come in and we have implemented a fiscal responsible budget, we're going to repay those debts. And I believe that North Carolinians will rise to the occasion and allow us to continue doing that, because we owe it to our kids and our grandkids. What's the use of of having these kids go through school, and graduating them, and we want to get them out into the market and say, here's this debt that you inherited. Good luck in paying that back, because I'm quitting. I'm not working anymore. I'm going to stay home and take it easy. It's not fair, for us to be able to spend, say we're going to spend money on a broken system. K through 12 education system where 40% of our kids don't graduate. Almost 70% of our kids that go to the university system in North Carolina require remedial work. That's one of the reasons why our university system is so bloated, because they have to deal with the failures of the K through 12 system. And remember, and take note that I'm not blaming it on teachers, I'm blaming it on the system. Again, we have some incredibly dedicated teachers. And one of the things I believe that our legislature would do, one of the things I would like to see us do, is to put every teacher in the state of North Carolina, get rid of tenure. 10 years, no more. I would take every teacher and give them a 1-year contract. Every teacher. Matter of fact, I do that for every government employee with a 1-year contract. Do your job. If you don't, you're gone. Period. That's the way private industry does, and that's the way government does. Good employees, good teachers will never have to worry about their job security because their performance is going to do that. And we're going to put in place some performance measures where we can pay teachers based on their performance. And wouldn't that be a novel concept? That way in teachers' defense, we give them a lot of, we're enabling people, we're enabling a lot of people. Matter of fact, we're subsidizing. We're not only enabling, we're subsidizing people to have kids that have no business having kids. And then we put them on the doorstep of our schools and expect the school to fix them, and teach them everything. To give you an example, I got there was a move from a committee in the legislature looking at possibly privatizing some of our daycare, our early education programs. And I just got a barrage from the Bright Learning thing over in Swain County. People started emailing me like crazy. And one of them said that she had one kid in the program and one kid that was going into the next year. And she was saying without this program, her kid would not be able to learn their ABCs and stuff. And she said, I know that this is very important because I'm a teacher. We get emails like that every day where you just go, I like to write a book, these people's names in it. And because literally, when we were talking about cutting education, I got one email from a teacher. Every legislator got an email from this teacher. Because I saw the list, they sent a letter, an email to every teacher. This lady said she was an assistant principal in a school in the middle part of the state. Assistant principal, she'd been in education for 22 years. And in that email were 7 misspelled words. This is in an age we have spell check. 7 misspelled words and improper use of pronouns and run-on sentences. It was just terrible. I knew better than that when I was a sophomore in high school. And this lady had been in education for 22 years. And yet she sent this email. Actually I sent that email to her boss.
With corrections.
No, I didn't correct anything. But I didn't even suggest corrections. I'm just struggling. And basically the premise of my email was I'm struggling with how this teacher got to where she is with this lack of knowledge with the English language. Our kids don't know how to spell, but by golly, they can put on a condom at grade 5, right? It's just totally absurd. So we have an opportunity, folks, and you've got to stay energized. We have an opportunity to transform North Carolina, and I am delighted, I am thrilled to be part of it. This is not a very lucrative job. It takes a lot of time, but the rewards are incredible because we have made a difference and we will continue to make a difference with your help. Again, I thank you for the honor of serving, and I see somebody has, I see a couple. I'll take the lady first. Norm, you have a question for me?
Senator, I just wonder, how is the McCrory campaign coming along?
Well, he's still up, 15 points, Orville? Probably he's up 15 points over any Democrat. McCrory, I think the planets are going to have to be aligned incredibly well for anybody but McCrory to win. He's got over $2 million in the bank at last count. He will. I just don't see anybody beating him. Walter Dalton is the lieutenant governor now, is the president of the Senate, and a real gentleman, but he has a charisma of one of these signs. But he's a great human being, and I really respect him. He's done a great job, but he just doesn't. For a governor, you want somebody that can excite you and get the passions going, and you and Walter Dalton's not the guy. Not the guy. And Bill Faison. About 3 weeks ago, I got in a little bit of trouble with the Asheville Citizen-Times. I put out a press release from a legislative website saying that I had filed for re-election, and that was an ethical violation. As soon as I found that out, a reporter from Asheville Citizen-Times called me and asked me, did I know that that appeared to be an ethics violation? I said, no, I didn't. I've sent out a lot of press releases, and if I had, said that I'm, on, a lot of other things, we were very careful in that press release, but it turned out it was an ethics violation. As soon as I found out, I called the leadership in Raleigh and told them what I had done, and I sent them a copy of the press release, and hopefully it was taken care of. The irony is that the Raleigh newspaper, the N&O newspaper, came and covered the Democrat Bill Faison, who's running for governor, and he had a press conference in the legislative building in which he passed out campaign literature with his campaign name on it. But the reporters of the News and Observer said that it wasn't a violation because he neither asked for votes or money. And so using my legislative email was a violation, but that wasn't. So it's kind of curious. I guess it all depends on who's judging your paper. But we've got a lot to do. We've gotten a lot done. Anybody that's not on my email newsletter list, if you're not on my email newsletter list, let us know. Chris is kind enough to send them out once he gets them to everybody. But if you'd like to, all you have to do is contact my legislative email, jim.davis@ncleg.net, and ask Kay to give her your email address. We get emails from a lot of them out of the state, actually. People have sent them all over the place. And I read in this last week's paper, you may have read it, that one of John Snow was here last Saturday and was in a couple of precincts. They had a meeting. And one of his complaints was that I was not representing the people of the western part of the state, the 50th district, and I was not representing my constituents very well. I will tell you, and I will promise you, that there is not an office in the legislature, not one, that exceeds our service to our constituents. My legislative assistant, who is Kay, my sister, she answers every email. Now, some of them, like last week, we got a barrage after this Florida thing. We got a barrage from people that Castle Doctrine, don't touch my Castle Doctrine, and we're not. That wasn't a Castle Doctrine issue, even though some people are trying to demagogue that issue. It's not a Castle Doctrine issue. We got probably 100 or 120 emails in one day. Well, you can't answer those all individually, and so what we do is we develop a sort of a cookie cutter answer to those people and send it out to them. But every one of them gets answered. Every letter that we get, every phone call. I'm on the phone all the way to and from Raleigh, 315 miles, talking to constituents, and there's been not one constituent that has called us that didn't get a return phone call, not one. And I will also tell you that I'm lacking 2 visits to county commission meetings in this district. The 6 years that John Snow was a senator in the 50th district, he never came to Macon County Commission meeting one time, and I'm visiting them all. I'm having town hall meetings in every county. What the constituents think and their access to me, I think is unprecedented, and I pride myself on that, and we're going to continue to do that. I think it's really important to know what the folks are saying. So again, I want to thank you. Norm, you had a question?
Just observation as much as anything. From Roger West's report this morning, somebody else might have heard the same thing, is that he said that the legislature is going to increase by more than 70 people in this election.
Oh, new people.
New people.
Probably so.
Yeah, new people.
Probably there'll be more than 70, because there are a lot of...
He said 70, 80,
70 or 80 people in the legislature?
Yeah.
I don't think that's accurate, because there's only 170 of us.
No, this is in the House. That's my understanding.
Well, maybe they'll have more than 70 Republicans in the House. What do they have now, 64? They might do that. It's expected that the majority in the House will increase this year. A lot of Democrats have served there for a lot of years, and it's happened in the Senate as well. They don't like sitting in the back row, and so they decided to retire.
Going home.
Yeah, they're going to the House. And some of them have been double bunked when you redistrict them, and you have 2 sitting legislators. You put them in the same district, so one of them is gone, and then you make it. And we're hearing a lot of, it's amazing, elections have consequences, and one of the consequences is, in having the leadership, is that in these years, after a census, you have the opportunity to redraw the districts. And so, surprise, surprise, the Republican legislature drew them fair and legal and to favor the Republicans, getting more Republicans. That's what we do. That's what redistricting has been done ever since it's started. And so it should be no news to anybody, especially Democrats, that that's what we did. And so again, I think the leadership, having the majority in the House and the Senate in North Carolina is virtually assured for the next 10 years, presuming that we maintain the grassroots support that you've given to us this year, and hopefully you'll do it, because we are making a difference and we will continue to do so. Chris, you have time for me to, I don't know where our speaker is. I was really, I'm disappointed that Dale is not here. I don't know what happened, but he is a strong candidate for Lieutenant Governor. Any other questions anybody has? None? Good deal. Again, I want to thank my